So, hello and welcome back to another TRU Talks. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Guy Thompson, who I'm sure you know, obviously is Premiership player and will obviously be moving to Ealing Trailfinders next season. Guy, welcome along. Really good to chat to you once again. How's things been with you? We just made a comment about your post-it notes to the left-hand side of you. It looks like it's been a busy time for you.
Hey, mate. Just these things up here are what keeps me organised at the moment. Busy couple of weeks. Since a couple of days ago, the Ealing news was finally announced, which was really good for me just to finally get it out there. I'd had a lot of questions about it while I was moving. After I did the interview previously, I had so many nice messages of people asking what I was going to be doing and genuinely interested. And then I've managed to obviously get it announced, and I can't say for any further, like the amount of messages I've had from Leicester Tigers fans, Wasps fans, Ealing fans has been exceptional. I can't thank everybody enough. I read every single message. I digested it. I took them on board, and I was massively humbled and overwhelmed by it. I really was. There's some really, really nice messages, and I really didn't expect it at all.
Yeah, and that must be really pleasing, actually, Guy, that, we talked about it when you appeared on the Loose Heads podcast, which seems like ages and ages ago, but really doesn't seem like ages and ages ago, about kind of how much you enjoyed the time at Wasps and how fondly you are remembered at Leicester Tigers as well for the great service you've given the club for the last 2 years. So when you do open up a new chapter, and it is obviously a really exciting one with Ealing, and you're getting all the support, it does make you think, well, yes, I had an impact there, and it's now time for a fresh start and make an impact at Ealing as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think I first and foremost, I consider myself extremely lucky to have had the opportunity to represent Wasps for 5 years and make 100 appearances was something really special. Made some lifelong friends there. Then to have the opportunity to play for Leicester for the last 2 years and be involved in that huge game against Newcastle and European Cups there. I guess as a rugby player, you don't really think about it at the time. You kind of take it for granted a little bit. It's your job, you turn up, you play, you understand what an honour it is to wear the shirt and to play, but you kind of don't reflect on it as much as I think maybe you should. So when you then do step back, and I was at a process for a little bit of wondering what I was going to do next, I had lots of messages of people that Ealing got announced and about a move I'm extremely excited for. Suddenly then you get to really understand maybe what influence you've had on people, and definitely what influence the fans have had on myself, because you don't really, as I say, you don't reflect, so you don't really understand how it made you feel, because you turn up to a game, you play, you win, you lose, you work hard, you try and turn things around. You don't understand really what that meant to you as a person, because you just get on with it. But then the moment you actually step back and say, okay, well, I've left Leicester now, or I'm leaving Leicester, and the fans start messaging you saying, oh, I hope it's not true, and we're glad to see you go and things, you realise that it's not just you that's had the influence on them, it's them that's had the influence on yourself as well, because it really does touch you. And like I said at the start, I was massively overwhelmed by everything. Humbled as well just by some of the messages of, and those really, it took me a good afternoon, sort of 24 hours to digest everything that got sent through. And I sat in sort of like a quiet room and just reflected on it. And could I have done any more? I'm happy with what I did there. And for their fans to have said messages like that to me, then yeah, it really meant a huge amount to me.
Yeah. And obviously you talk about the exciting prospects with Ealing, Guy. I mean, we spoke off air and off the record during the Loose Heads podcast that you said you were thinking about going there, and a deal was very close to being completed. But how pleased were you when it was formally announced last week that you were joining the club? Because it seems like there, just looking at social media, that at Ealing something really exciting is brewing there.
Yeah, look, when I went down to meet them, I met Ben Ward, the DOR there. What really appealed about Ealing for me was the ambition of the club and to be a part of something. I remember talking to you guys with Loose Heads and Talking Rugby Union about what was next for me. Had to be the right challenge. It had to be the right move. This was it for me. We did look abroad. There was options, sort of Japan, France, that sort of areas. But what it boiled down to for me was what excited me the most, and was being a part of this journey with Ealing something that really appealed to me. Well, yes, it was. I've always felt that some of my best rugby's been played when I'm an underdog or when my team's underdog. So for us to go into that league now in the Championship, massive underdogs against Saracens, who obviously have come down, that to me really, really appealed. The challenge of being a part of this journey with Ealing to get from Championship to Premiership is something that I really want to be a part of. And playing against Ealing for Jersey and Richmond over the years, they're a team that likes to throw the ball around. They're a team that likes expansive rugby. I think that suits me, the way I want to play. They've got the 4G pitch down there. Being able to throw the ball around and attack it and really go for it is something that I wanted to be a part of. So when Ben made the offer, it was something that I was really excited for and just couldn't turn down.
Yeah, and you're one of a whole host of signings which the club have been able to announce, Guy, over the last couple of weeks. And I mean, you look at some of the names we spoke just previously before we started recording. I mean, there's some great names in there. I know Charlie Walker's had that Premiership experience, like yourself, who's going to be going to Ealing, and a whole host of young players as well that have coming into a club. So it seems like a really great blend that the club are mixing together, if you like. Yeah,
I think it is. I think the recruitment they've done has been very clever. Obviously, you look at someone like Charlie Walker, he's an outstanding player when he was at Harlequins. I think he was massively underrated there. He scores a lot of tries. He's a deadly finisher and he reads the game really well. You also then look at people like Sean Moulton, Van Vuren coming in the hooker role, a position where you want somebody to step up and take charge. Both those players can do that. I also think someone like Dean Hammond coming in, really powerful from Worcester. He's going to be an exceptional player. I just think as well the retention was big. That I think it wasn't necessarily the new signings they were going to get. It was people that they decided they wanted to keep. People like Shingler at 10, who is international standard fly half. I think he's an exceptional player, and I'm really looking forward to playing with him, because I think someone like him, what you need is a 10 that's going to lead you. What you need is a 10 that's going to run a game plan and get you from that next level. And I think he's the guy that can do it. So being able to retain someone like Shingler was something outstanding for them.
Absolutely, Guy. And whilst you've put pen to paper on a contract with Ealing, it's also a pleasure for us to announce it. You are TRU's new signing as well as a columnist, Guy. It's brilliant to have you on board. And I think one of the reasons why myself and my colleague Max Ashcroft decided that you'd be a good person to have on, Guy, is because you spoke so well on the Loose Heads podcast a few months ago about kind of planning for life after rugby. And I know you're doing your university degree and you're running as well a successful business as well. So was this another added sort of string to your bow, if you like, to come and do a bit of work in the media?
Yeah, 100%. Being in and around the media is something I've always really enjoyed. I've done little bits here and there, but nothing consistent. So for me, when you offered the opportunity to become a columnist, it was something that I thought about in detail first before jumping at it, because it was something that if I'm going to do it, I want to do it in detail and do it correctly. And I wanted to make sure I could sacrifice enough time for it. And when I thought about it in detail, it was something that I thought was really good, because it might enable me to get some of my experiences, some of my views across to maybe some of the younger players, to other people that have been in situations where they might not understand the way out or what the next move is. I always remember coming into rugby when I was sort of 17, 18, having a professional contract on offer for Worcester Warriors. My mum was like, no, you're going to university because it's not much money. You don't really understand any of this when you're younger about what way you want to go and about how everyone starts down there because you build up and you have help in other areas. But we didn't know that. So by trying to get into the media side of things, being able to write about experiences, write about potential opportunities or decisions that I made previously, maybe that will just help one or two people to reach out, and they might then just be able to say, you know what, I'll ask Guy for a little bit of advice and I can help out as much as I can. So that was kind of my theory behind it, and about the reason why I wanted to do it. But again, as we spoke about just off the record, selfishly, I think it'll be very good for myself as well, because it will give me a chance to step back, analyse a few things and decisions before I actually put it in writing. So it means that it won't purely be an emotion of just an interview and speaking. It will be something that will be well thought out, something that I'll be able to understand myself before I put it on paper. And that probably helped me out a lot more as well, to be honest.
You mentioned as well, Guy, really well, that it might be an opportunity for someone to read what you've done in your career and reach out. And one of the things that we mentioned, of course, on the Loose Heads podcast was kind of the end of your contract at Leicester and sort of what was next for you. And you did talk about, driving home from the training ground and thinking, I don't know what's coming next for me at the moment. So is that another reason why you do want to try and write your column to speak about those experiences?
Yeah, 100%. That conversation that we had about me driving away from the training field, not knowing what I was doing, that was probably one of the closest I've ever been to maybe feeling anxious or to what someone might feel that's going through a depression or through a depressed state. That's the closest I've probably been to that. So if I could find myself in that situation sort of 7-8 months after that Newcastle game, then I'm pretty sure anybody in world rugby can find himself in that position. So the fact that I was sat there going through it, making sure that I wanted to understand what was next and how I was going to process it, if anyone else in that situation, I want them to be able to reach out to myself or to somebody to ask for a little bit of help or to ask what way or what to do. The one thing I was especially proud of is leaving Leicester is I had a lot of messages from the younger guys, the up-and-comers, the people coming through, sort of a few of them saying thank you and things like that. And that to me meant more than anything, because it meant that I felt I did my job correctly, that I was trying to help the younger guys, trying to help them find their way, giving them advice when I possibly could. Obviously, I can't always do it as I'm learning myself every day. But the fact that I had a couple of them send me messages saying thank you, kind of that meant more to me than anything, because it meant that I managed to give a little bit back to them and just give them that little bit of advice when needed.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely, Guy. And also on the podcast, you talked about you would have liked to have pulled on the Leicester Tigers jersey again if it was possible. But obviously, at the moment with COVID-19 and the situation we find ourselves in, that unfortunately, as you said, told me off air, is not going to be possible for you. But you did say you had a really nice chat with Geordie Murphy before you said, right, that's my time at Leicester done. Now I can focus on Ealing.
Yeah, and you know what, it is, when you look at it in detail, it is kind of, it's not nice for players not being able to have that farewell game, but that's quite a selfish view from the player, I think. Yes, it would be great for me to say, oh yeah, great, goodbye, thank you everyone, but with the pandemic going on at the moment, that's the least of people's worries. What was more important is, yes, I'm still contracted to the end of June with Leicester. However, I'm not going in training now because I'm a risk of infection. I think that if you were then, I think there's 20 odd boys leaving Leicester this year. If you then brought those 20 boys in to train around the squad that's going to be playing, that's another 20 people that could be bringing an infection into a professional training base. So it just isn't worth the risk. So unfortunately, I dropped the equipment back the other day, gave it a good clean, picked up my belongings that I had left there, sort of my weightlifting shoes and that sort of thing. And that was my time at Leicester done. And I kind of remember driving out the gates and it kind of not thinking too much about it until I kind of left, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of my time done there. Bit bittersweet. Well, it's one of those. I've been itching to get going at Ealing as soon as I signed on the paper, so I'm really excited about that. Bit sad that my time at Leicester come to an end. I didn't manage to get to say goodbye to certain people, but as you mentioned, I had a lovely phone call off Geordie. He's a great guy. He gave me a call. He just apologised that I wasn't able to come back in, which was obvious, to be honest, and we understood that as leaving players, that we aren't able to go back. Just thanking me for everything, and that he'd love to get me down there for a game in the future, and it's an invite I'll definitely take him up on, and I will go there in the future and say my goodbyes to people.
Brilliant, Guy. And obviously at the moment, we said at the top of the show that you're obviously balancing uni work as well as moving house at the moment. So how's everything going with that? The wheels in motion? Busy,
mate. It's okay. I've tried to stay as organised as possible, but my girlfriend just gave me a little nudge downstairs not too long ago, actually. Said, you're moving in like a week's time. And I was like, ugh. So I've got my uni work, my second assignment I'm doing now during lockdown. I've got about 2,000 words left of that to do on strategy. I've then got my house rented out from the 1st of July. And I'm getting my keys this week for my flat in London to start moving stuff in. So it's going to take a couple of van loads. I've got to skip outside just to throw anything in that I decide I don't want anymore, which the more days go on, the more the fuller it gets. But yeah, where that can go. But yeah, it's just a case of trying to be organised. I stayed up on it with all the bills, like water bills or electric bill. I've managed to do all that, so that's the important bit, really.
Yeah, and I bet you just finally, from me, Guy, very eager to get going to Ealing when it's safe to do so.
Yeah, I have no idea when the championship season's going to start. I don't think anyone does at the moment. Obviously, I think we're going to be waiting for the Premiership to finish with Saracens and things like that. Who knows if the season's going to finish? We don't even know that yet. We know it's got a potential restart date for the Prem, but we don't know if it's actually going to get finished or whether it's going to be able to carry on. So as Ealing go, they've been back in this week. I start in July when my contract allows, and I just want to get going now, go meet some of the boys from a social distance, of course, get training. You know, just running on your own. I was out this morning trying to motivate and push myself. It's tough. I just want to get there now and have that competitive edge back against each other and push each other and get in the gym and actually try and lift some weights. So I feel like I'm wasting away a bit here.
Well, I'm sure all the heavy lifting into removal vans is it's seeing to that guy.
I took a chunk out the wall the other week when I lifted a wardrobe downstairs. It's been fixed.
It's been fixed. Well, Guy, it's brilliant. We could probably chat all afternoon about your move to Ealing and stuff like that, but we'll save that probably for the TRU columns that you will be producing throughout the season. I know you're really busy with a lot more things which take precedence at the moment, so we really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Today, Guy, and it's brilliant to have you on board with TRU as well. Don't forget, my colleague Joe Harvey has done another TRU Talks this week with former Wasp-man Ross Neal, so do check that one out as well. And this one with Guy will be released this week as well. So many thanks to Guy as well, and that has been a TRU Talks.